We are here today in New York during Climate Week and the UN General Assembly, coming together with CEOs and executives from all walks of life to hear directly from them on how they can help to create sustainable impact through their businesses. Ecovadis was founded in 2007 and has become a leader in global sustainability ratings, assessing over 130,000 suppliers across 220 industries in more than 180 countries worldwide.
I think there is so much you can achieve by, online, and if you want to have the real, creative ideas, you need to meet.
A purpose-driven company committed to guide all companies toward a sustainable world, Ecovadis looks to fulfill that mission by empowering a global marketplace where sustainability intelligence influences every business decision to improve economies, people's lives, and the planet we all depend on.
New challenges companies are facing at this space of sustainable supply chain is changing really quickly with regulations, with the emerging topics. So we want to really understand what we need to do better as we invest in R&D and as we innovate this year to make the system more scalable and more relevant for companies around the world.
Doing that requires robust, trusted data. I sat down with Pierre Taylor, co-founder and co-CEO of Ecovadis, to learn more about the evolution of ESG ratings. Pierre, what brings you to Climate Week?
I'm coming here to meet many of our customers and partners.
Right.
And it's super exciting to be here and seeing how busy it is this year.
It is great to see people face to face, right?
Yes, and I think it's much bigger than last year.
Yeah.
Seems a lot of people have decided to come this year.
Tell me about Ecovadis.
So Ecovadis, we are operating the leading platform for intelligence on sustainability for global supply chains. We're helping the biggest global brands understand the environmental, social, human rights risks in their extended value chains.
Why is it important in this space to have a rating system?
So it's important because the sustainability metric, the sustainability regulations are very complex. And you need to cover lots of topics, from climate to biodiversity to social issues. And being able to translate all these complex topics into numerical scores, it's making a huge difference for procurement professionals, because then they can embed this data in their purchasing strategies, a bit as it's the way it's done in finance. And it's making it more impactful, because then you can combine price and quality and sustainability and make it an important metric to decide whether you're doing business with the suppliers or not.
It allows for comparisons, which is important, right?
Yes, it allows for transparency, comparability, we have customers setting global strategies saying they want all their suppliers to improve by 10 percentile points, or they wouldn't do business with suppliers who have below a certain score. So it's making it easier to embed this complex topic into business strategies.
And one of the reasons it's so important for us to evaluate our suppliers on some of these issues is to make sure that we understand where there's challenges, where there's opportunities, how we can assess suppliers on who's maybe come up with a new solution in one area versus the other. The transparency is really critical to be able to solve the issues that we have.
What's the criteria you were looking for in an assessment provider like Ecovadis?
And so some of the criteria that we looked for when we were selecting a provider and chose Ecovadis was to have an interface that was very easy for us to use to evaluate the supplier's data, but also, just as importantly, that it was easy for the suppliers to be able to put their information in. Making it visible and understandable is what really allows us to dive in and solve the problems.
So when you started the company in 2007, what were the challenges you saw, and what did the Ecovadis solution, how did that fit in?
So that was 15 years ago. It was 8 years ago, and we were in a very different world. We didn't have SDGs, we didn't have Climate Week, but still, some of the first large corporates were starting to ask lots of questions to their thousands of suppliers on those topics. And we realized this was creating a huge duplication of efforts, and suppliers were spending their time, answering audits and questionnaires. And we thought, can we create a cloud platform to connect buyers and suppliers,
Right.
and when you provide a layer of validation of this information to avoid duplication of effort and make it much easier for everyone.
I'm curious how you've seen, ratings evolve, and how do you ensure that they remain relevant and actionable?
So throughout the years, we had to constantly, refine our methodology. We want to keep it relatively similar from one year to the other, because one of the objectives of our customers is also to, set long-term plans for improvements and compare, performance over several years. But we need to invest to improve on making ratings more reliable, making ratings more actionable. So reliable, it's, throughout the years, we've been embedding plenty of new data feeds, in order to be able to calculate the score.
Yeah.
So, 5 years ago, we started to use AI to capture lots of, publicly available information from NGOs and news. A couple of weeks ago, we announced the acquisition of a company which is using what is called worker voice technology. So they use mobile phones to capture information directly from workers in the factory floors.
Cutting edge.
Yes, so all this is aiming at making it more reliable and then more actionable. It's the end game is not to provide a score. The end game is to use this as a way for companies to improve. And so we are making the scorecards more and more transparent. We allow both the companies who are rated and the buyers to drill down, understand what they need to do to improve.
Right, right. Ecovadis, it's a purpose-driven company that's committed, to advancing sustainability. What role do you think ratings play in making progress toward that goal?
So we think we can play an important role. When I look at what needs to happen, if we want to drive the change that sustainable development goals require, we need breakthrough innovations, on materials, energy, mobility, and this is happening, but this is not going to be enough. We need regulations, and we have lots of regulations on ESG and maybe too many, but this is not going to be enough. We also need to see a massive shift in the purchasing behavior of consumers and businesses. And this purchasing shift on B2B purchasing, that's really what we can impact. One of the metrics which is the most important for me is last year we influenced $5 trillion of purchasing goods of services. That's the scale.
That's a remarkable number.
Yes, that's the scale of what we impact. And if we are able to push those companies to move, 10%, 20% of those $5 trillion of spend, that's as big as IRA or the EU. So it can have a massive impact.
Yeah, and it's hard to push companies to, do the right thing. It's clear that the challenges that we're facing, as a planet and a society, it just can't be solved alone. Where do you see opportunities for, collaboration to drive progress and accelerate impact?
So Ecovadis by itself is a platform for collaboration. We have 2,000 of the largest global brands, 100,000, of their business partners in 150 countries who are collaborating on this platform. But we need to go further if we want to see more, systemic change. And so one thing we've launched a couple of years ago is what we call sector initiatives. So it's coalition of large companies where the chief supply chain officer or chief sustainability officer say, okay, we need to be able to collaborate with our competitors, to drive improvements in supply chains that are critical for the, resilience or, sustainability of our businesses. And it takes courage. It's not easy to start, but those, sector coalitions or sector initiatives, as we call them, are very powerful mechanism for change.
The great part about the Accelerated Initiative is really to get things going faster and to make sure that we're all on this journey together and collaborating wherever possible on solutions and opportunities.
What do you think is the driving adaptation of ESG ratings today, and how do you see that evolving in the future?
So I think today the main reason large corporates are assessing the performance of their business partners, it's risk management and it's regulations. So risk management is to avoid, being on the news, reputational risks. Regulations, you have plenty of new regulations coming, like this famous CSRD in Europe.
Right.
So it's largely a defensive approach.
I do see the use of assessments continuing to grow. There's more and more interest in what the issues are that are out there. The transparency is so important, whether it be NGOs, investors, or even in our case, OEMs and customers, to really be able to see what's out there and how we continue to improve together.
What I think will change in the future is more and more companies will realize that if you have a high sustainability rating, it's also an opportunity to increase your revenue. And a couple of weeks ago, Bain, which is one of our partners, released a study on how purchasing decisions will be made in B2B in the next 5 years, and the sustainability will become more and more an important topic. So we think it can go from being protecting the bottom line to really increasing the top line for companies.
Pierre, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alison.
With global, trusted, and actionable ratings, businesses of all sizes rely on Ecovadis' detailed insights to help them comply with ESG regulations, reduce GHG emissions, and improve the sustainability performance of their business and value chains. Ecovadis uses a methodology that allows for comparisons, which is critical. Its ratings give buyers continuity and confidence that the information is reliable, and for the company that's being rated, the scores create a culture of documentation and measurement for improvement.